My goodness, you know, for a Friday afternoon, I'm really annoyed. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm not really annoyed. How can you be annoyed when you're on two wheels, as Shade Tree would probably say? I don't know if that's what he would say or not, but that's what my impression of Shade Tree says, is on two wheels. So just out doing a little cruising here, took the day off. You probably ever put two and two together that these episodes are linked to other episodes. So yeah, my arm hurts a little bit from getting my zombie vaccination or inoculation or whatever it is when they make you a zombie. And then after that, I went up to Harley and spent a little too much money on some needed things. I can already feel more confident in my back tire. Wow, that thing was bald that was on there, and I could tell after the first turn leaving Harley that it was back to Grip City. But today I would like to rewind 4 years and kind of talk about my MSF experience for anyone who is thinking about taking the course. A little bit about my background if you are new to the channel and watching this video. I've only been riding motorcycles for 4 years. Up to that point in time, I had no other two-wheel experience except for my pedal bikes. So I did not grow up with any sort of mopeds or dirt bikes or BMX bikes. It was always just my pedals and me. I caught the fever to ride, as I mentioned in a few videos ago, and I really just wanted a bike so badly. I wanted one so badly that before I had any sort of training, I went out and bought this motorcycle that we're on here today, 2009 Dyna Lowrider.
Are you stupid or something?
Was it stupid to buy it before the class? Maybe, because what if I didn't like the class? But I knew I was going to love this hobby, so I went ahead and splurged, and I knew if I didn't like it, I could probably get most of the money back. So let's go ahead and talk about, though, the MSF course in a nutshell and what you can expect from it. Now, this is how they conduct it out here in Kansas anyway, so your local municipality might do things a little bit differently. But for mine was a 3-day course. It started on a Friday and went through Sunday. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday. What was nice about mine is they did it up at the local community college. And they had it so obviously someone who worked, during the day, Monday through Friday, could take the course, because the course didn't start until the evening on the Friday. Now, that evening on the Friday was, I think, 4 or 5 hours of classroom work. So they go over the MSF course, which I don't know if you can get this book readily available to kind of look into it before you start, but if you can, definitely do so. So on that first 4 hours, we kind of get broken into groups and we kind of meet each other and do just really some basic exercises. I think one of the most fun things was putting on the drunk goggles and trying to figure out what's going on. I don't think I've ever been as drunk as those goggles made me out to be, but man, I almost wanted to start talking goofy just because I couldn't keep my balance. It's like, oh, what? Or something. I don't know. Is that what drunk people talk like? I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, so that's night one. That's what you can usually expect. Now, depending on, again, where you go and how many classes they have running concurrently, you'll either begin the next day either on the bikes or in a classroom session. For me, we began Saturday on the bikes. I remember it vividly because it was all of about, I would say 32, 33 degrees that morning. This was late October, so things are starting to kind of shift. We got out there with the bikes that they had put out just about an hour or two before we got there had ice. So we had to de-ice the bikes before we even began. Luckily, I wore layers. So that is something to think about. If you're going to be doing this in the winter or early spring, definitely consider wearing some layers so that you can disrobe throughout the day and always maintain some comfort. So the first thing that you're going to probably do on the bikes is you're going to learn the weight of the bike. And then from there, you're going to walk the bike. Now, what do you mean by walk the bike? I mean, you're physically sitting on the motorcycle, it's in neutral, and you're basically pushing it with your legs. It is a tough workout.
Boys.
What have you been up to?
Skipping leg day.
That's still a thing that, eh?
Cha, unfortunate.
We probably went up and down the course probably 3 or 4 times back and forth, and I could already feel the burn. I'm pretty much in the same kind of shape that I am now. I'm probably actually a little heavier than back then, but I just remember the pain in the quads on the top of your legs, like, woo, doggy, woo. But after that, you start working on the friction zone, which is basically kind of developing a muscle memory, because you will always use your friction zone when riding. So it's very important to get used to that from the get-go. Once you rock back and forth on it, they have you do what you call power walking the bike, which is basically letting out the clutch and you're just barely moving, but you're walking the bike with the power of the motorcycle. This is not as bad as walking it by your own 2 legs by any means. So much better having the torque of the motorcycle at your helm. The next thing you ended up doing was you got into first gear all the way, clutch out, feet up, and it's so amazing. Going back to the last session where you were just power walking it, I was actually putting my feet up already because it's just so natural to do.
I can't lie!
And so you're going to go ahead and do other basic maneuvers. You're going to start to learn how to go into second gear. You're going to start to do some basic cornering, things of that nature. I remember at the end of day 1, I was so tired. I wasn't really in a good mood at the end of day 1 just because it was such a physical exhaustion.
Wow, that's messed up.
Moving these 400-pound bikes around. But I will say, at the end of the riding session, we had to go put the bikes up, which means we had to go on a slight, not really a public road because it was at the community college, but it was roads around the community college. We had to go put the bikes up into the shed. So that was like a real world experience. Like, oh yeah, boy! Now that we're not doing these basic mundane drills and we're actually applying everything that we just learned, this is great. And so that kind of remotivated me for the next day. That's a big rock. So the rest of that day is spent with more in-class session for the next 4 hours or so. And then you come back the next day and it is all of a sudden test day. So yeah, the test kind of sneaks up on you right pretty quick. You have 2 tests that you'll have to do on the final day. The first test is a writing test, and the second test is a written test. So again, for our session, we were in the morning and we had to do a little bit more practice first, and then they said, all right, line them up, time to start testing. And the testing, they were pretty lenient on for the most part. I mean, they required a 100% completion, but they gave you kind of like a second try if you were really close on something. Or they might have just deducted a couple points here or there, depending on what the actual skill exercise was. After you pass that, you go inside and you do a little bit more bookwork, and then you take your final written test. I'm dying to tell you guys this. Pay attention to the course. They will normally point out things that are going to show up on the test. And guys, it is a very easy test if you do so. After you pass the test, they will give you basically your endorsement to take it to the DMV. And at least here in Kansas, that endorsement meant I had to take no written test or writing test for them. I just literally updated my driver's license. So that was my experience with the MSF. I thought it was a very good experience. I really do like it. I would love to almost go back and do it again just to kind of freshen up on some skills. I had thought about taking the second session, which is, you know, more slow speed maneuvers on your own motorcycle, but I just can't get to the point of thinking I could drop my bike on some of these things, and I don't want to do that. I want to drop their bike. So go ahead and post your comments as far as what you thought about the MSF course or equivalent to it. Post those down below, and post any sort of tips that you would have for a new rider who would be potentially taking the course here this spring or fall. That being said though, again, this is Chopper Fit. I am Brett, and I will catch you on the next dark side, as this is the way. Chopper Fit out. See ya!